Good evening, everybody. This is Cap'n Tinsley, Salty Abandon with a Salty Podcast, and it's where every day is a good day to talk about sailing. And this is episode number 16. So today we are talking to the crew of Fresh to Salty, Latrell and Stephen. I'm going to bring them out right now.
Hello.
Hello, Stephen and Latrell. How are you?
We're doing good.
Thanks for coming on. So tell us where you are.
Right now we're in Big Majors, which is in the Exhumers.
Okay, so for those who are not educated on the Bahamas, that is the Bahamas, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's
it's
right next to Staniel Cay, where all the pigs are that everybody talks about.
Oh yes. Okay. And did you swim with the pigs?
I didn't.
We fed the pigs some carrots, but we didn't get in the water with them.
There's not so many pigs here.
Oh
So
yeah.
Apparently they've lost a whole bunch of them. So.
Oh no. Well, that's sad news on the Salty Podcast. The first question I want to ask you, your name, Fresh to Salty. Okay, first of all, where was the Fresh? And I think you switched from a powerboat to sailing, didn't you?
So our first boat was a powerboat, and we lived in Oklahoma, and we mostly used it on one lake there. Where do we used to take the boat all the time? Copan Lake. But then we took our sailing class, the ASA 101 class, in Lake Oologah in Oklahoma. We came straight home after the sailing class, put that powerboat up for sale. The day that it sold, we went straight back to the lake, Oologah, looked at every boat they had there for sale, picked one and bought it.
And you bought the one you have?
No.
So we bought a 27-foot cow. Great little boat, 25, and for us it was just absolutely perfect for that.
Other than that, it was a perfect boat. And then we sailed that on that first break for a whole year.
Whole year.
Right out a year. And then after that year, we sold everything and bought this boat out of North Carolina.
Okay. It looks like your internet might be a little splotchy. So do you want to just turn off your cam? Let's see if your sound gets a little better. And let's try that for a minute. And maybe it'll correct itself.
How do we do that?
At the very bottom where it says settings, well, that's where mine is.
Oh, the camera up there.
I tried different resolution.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Is that any better?
I can see you better when you're up close.
Move that.
Yeah, that's good. So tell me again the name of the sailboat, the first one. Not the name, but what kind?
It was a 227 cow.
Okay. Now, what made you go to sailing? What made you switch over?
Because at the time we had been fostering for 8 years at that point.
Yeah.
And we'd had a couple, he got me at just the right moment. We'd had a couple of back-to-back really difficult cases, kids that were not the kids, but the situation they came out of. And so we were looking at how could we retire early? Because anyway, so he comes to me and he says, hey, check out this video, this family that's cruising. It was the Zataras. And he was like, in 10 years, we could probably sell everything into what they're doing. And I was like, I don't have 10 years to keep doing what we're doing right now.
Wow.
If we kind of backed up, instead of getting a catamaran, we got a monohull and we got a little bit older boat. And if we did all this stuff, we could probably go in 5 years.
Right.
So the original plan was that in 5 years, we would take a sailing class. And if we liked it, we would get a sailboat and sail it on that lake for 5 years and then be able to buy a boat and leave. But I was burned out. I was super burned out just with people. And so 18 months later, moved on.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. All right. So you got that sailboat, and then what was the next one?
The one we're on now.
So yeah,
And that
so we
is
a 40-foot jeanneau that was built in 2002.
nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm mostly an Island Packet person. That's what most of the people I have been on that have been on this channel. But we were interested in. I'm always very interested in talking to all sailors. So we're diverse here for sailing anyway on here on the Salty Podcast. Okay, so my next question has to do with what prompted you to take the family. I think you might have just answered that. I mean, you're not going to leave the kids at home.
Right. Well, so these are our our 3 youngest kids. We have 7 between the 2 of us. We have 7 kids total. So we have 4 adult kids and then 3 teenagers on the boat.
And the 4 adult ones, they're all married or they've got partners and working full time and all that kind of stuff.
So our 3 youngest kids, we started fostering when our daughter Katie was in pre-K, so like 4 years old, I think, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And then 2 of the other kids we adopted. They were our first foster kids, and we adopted them. Those 3 kids couldn't remember a life without other foster kids in our home. So like they didn't know what it was like just to have us, just to have them and their parents. Right. So one of the reasons I didn't want to wait like 10 years, like he had originally said, is because I kind of felt like the kids needed just some time with us without all the drama that goes along with fostering and being, dealing with kids that are in the system.
Plus, we also wanted to show them something a little bit different.
Yes.
We were in Midtown America, which we absolutely loved, but we wanted to show them that not the rest of the world isn't like America, and you've got something very special with living in America. So yeah, sweet.
I like hearing that. So this goes right into, we'll segue because you just kind of were talking about this. How does this trip, how has it enhanced your family dynamic and bond compared to other activities? So it's almost like what my questions are going to be.
I think it's totally improved it. I mean, we're with each other 24/7. You're in a confined space. There's jobs that they've learned to do. 2 of our kids suffered very badly from anxiety. We've seen that change over the period of the 3 years that we've been on the boat. Going from one kid that would come out with pat answers, wouldn't even look you in the face, to he's the life and the soul of all of his group that he goes around with. So it's been a huge difference.
A lot of we couldn't sail this boat. Well, we probably could, but it would be very, very, very hard to sail this boat anywhere if it was just the 2 of us. So they each have to take on responsibilities and help us get the boat where it needs to be safely. And everybody has a job to do for every little thing we do. And I think that responsibility has given them confidence that they didn't have before we came on the boat.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Cause that was one of my questions, is what kind of routine, what kind of traditions have you come up with, or, things that have become just a routine for you when you're coming out of a marina or leaving an anchorage, and how everybody plays a part?
They each have I will say we really rely heavily on our 16-year-old son. He is the muscle. I mean, like if we're putting the dinghy engine up, he helps lift it because he's stronger than us. He drives our dinghy. He drives our dinghy more than we do. And the girls help with really keeping the rest of the boat where we can manage to be around it. Like, it would be very difficult to have 5 people in a boat with only a 3-bedroom, a 40-foot boat, if they didn't each help every single day to keep things in order.
Yeah, that I could see how that would get it would be chaotic if you didn't have, if everybody wasn't like putting everything back, because if something's out and not put in its place, it's in the middle of everything.
Yes.
Well, that's cool. So go ahead.
And now that they're getting older, they're also helping out with things like night watches for when we're doing overnight passages. They help with the anchoring. It's just all sorts of different things that they're helping out with.
And doing the lines when we come in and out of marinas too.
Yeah.
And being able to use a fender to keep us off a dock. I mean, they've learned how to do a lot of it.
So you don't do much dinging of your boat when you come in and out of marinas?
No, only because we have a 16-year-old with a pole that will push us off anything that we get close to.
That is awesome. I do that all myself, and 1 out of 100, it didn't work out. I mean, well, I just get a scratch, and I'm like, oh. Yeah. But so yeah, that was my question. Manage day-to-day tasks and responsibilities. I think you what are some of the unique challenges of all of y'all being in this space?
I do think it's very difficult to get privacy. And then in fact, we have a buddy boat they're on a catamaran, and so they have more room. And they took all 3 of our kids on a little trip it was just 2 nights, wasn't it? In Virginia. And when they came back, one of our kids spent all of her time in the bedroom that they were using, because all the other kids were occupied doing stuff. And she was like, I haven't been alone in 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
To myself and privacy in 3 years. So she just chilled in their bedroom for 2 whole days reading books and stuff, because she was like, it's so quiet and there's nobody in here.
So do you have a house back home or anything, or you just cut loose on everything?
Yeah.
We sold everything except for our camper, and we kept our camper with this thought that, we might get on the boat and hate it. And so we kept the camper for the first 1.5 years. And then after 1.5 years, we went back home for a visit, and we sold the camper while we were there. We just didn't see
that was probably a nice little payday when you sold that. It's like, oh, cash.
Able to sell it for a decent price too. So I think the only thing we own now is a jet ski. We own a jet ski, and that's it.
And that's at somebody's house, right? So you're not having to pay. Yeah, having to pay for rent anywhere or anything. Well, this video will live for posterity, so there'll be a lot of people that want to do what you're doing. A lot of people that want to. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there doing what you're doing, which I think is great. And I assume you're doing online homeschooling and everything. But anything you can tell to other people, which I know you're probably already doing that will help them make this dream come true. Feel free to throw it in there. I do want to talk about that because it's in the teaser video about that the storm with the up to 50 knot winds.
Yes, was
that about 2 or 3 months ago? Was that?
That was like a week ago. It was about a week ago.
It was a week ago?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. We were here in Big Major, and we knew that weather was coming, but it wasn't supposed to be that bad. And then all of a sudden it hit so hard that every boat in the anchorage heeled over, like hard heeled over. And then after a little bit, it stopped, and then it just was rough the rest, storming and winds and stuff like you normally see in bad weather. But there was a period of time that it was pretty 54 knots, I think, is what our friends clocked on theirs. They have some way of going back and seeing the history. And it was like, I think 54 knots.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I've been in that before. I've been in, well, it's a story. I stayed on a boat during a high too. I didn't know, we didn't know it was coming either. It was supposed to go to Louisiana and it came to Alabama, but that was a bad situation. I was tied to the dock, but the lines broke. So, all right. So moments of fear and uncertainty through that. Did you ever think, what have I done?
This time we were like, wise, like, dang it. The first year that we were out, we had, I don't know if we were just didn't know what we were doing, so we were going places that we shouldn't have, or we didn't know how to tell the weather, check the weather correctly. But we found ourselves in a lot of bad weather the first year and a half. And I think we were all terrified at times.
Yeah.
But it's gotten to the point now that we've been through so much bad weather that me and our daughter Lexi will just stand out in the cockpit and be like, I bet that boat's really got seasickness right now because they're rocking bad. Or those people didn't put out in the We'll just sit out in the cockpit and talk about all the boats in Anchorage.
Well, and so do you guys? Did you get seasick at first and kind of get through it? I mean, do you kind of get used to it?
Everybody on the boat got seasick except for me.
But then I think you get times where you've been fairly still for a while and it comes back for a bit. Like today, it's been really rolly. We've actually moved locations. We were down in.
You're kind of rocking there.
Black Point, and the wind shifted round. So the Exumas isn't that great for sheltered anchorages, so it gets a bit rolly. But like this morning,
are you on the inside? I've never been there, but I've looked at the map and charts and stuff. Are you on the inside?
Side. There's a channel that goes through the middle of it between big majors and little majors. A lot of boats go in there, but our draft is fairly deep, so
I see.
We wouldn't want to go in there, but also there's not a lot of room for swinging. So, if someone makes a mistake, people are bumping into each other. So,
okay. Can you kind of center yourselves a little bit? I can barely. Latrell keeps moving out of the camera slowly but surely, and then maybe pull it back towards you so you're more centered in the. There we go. Yeah, you're a little fuzzy, but do you happen to have Starlink? That looks good, by the way. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so you kind of answered this one. Lessons or insights gained from the weather. So what did you start doing differently that led to you not putting yourselves in positions to be tossed around as much?
I think a huge part of it isn't anything that we were doing differently. It was so hard that first year, and I don't know that things got that much different, but I think we just learned to cope with it better.
Okay. Not as shocked, right?
Yeah, so we used to, if our anchor drug, we panicked. If the weather got bad, we would just in a state of panic. And now it's just happened so many times that we're not as panicky, which I think makes the whole thing go better.
We're not complacent. We're always checking the weather.
Right.
We did learn about the Cape Index last year because I hadn't really known about that, and it kind of didn't make any sense to me. But we've met other cruisers along the way, and they've said, "Oh, you need to check this out," and
right.
You pick up stuff that you don't necessarily get told in the ASA because we've done the three main ones, but they don't really go into weather.
I don't remember them ever telling us in the ASA classes, like, you need to be checking this for weather or that for weather, or don't go during if it says this or that. So we were just, it's not supposed to rain, let's go.
Yeah. It's trial and error. And I have a person that I check with, but it's almost like what I've learned is you have to, like, within 6 hours is really the most accurate. Like you can plan something a couple of days out, and then you really need to check it like 6 hours out, make sure it hadn't changed.
Yeah.
So
you can't rely on anything more than 3 days.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even 3 days is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can plan, but you got to be loose with those plans.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
so Mike Wag says their discussion of actual sailing experience is meaningful and amazing, and he also said, "Great interview." So got a little fan there. Let me do one thing. Introduce tonight's sponsor, which is me. So In case you didn't know, my name is Tinsley Myrick. I'm with Remax of Orange Beach, and I sell Gulffront condos in Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, and Perdido Key, Florida. And I also have, if you enjoy this podcast, I also have another one on Thursday nights, the Getting Beachy Real Estate Lifestyle podcast that I co-host with a team member. And it's a lot of fun. So we're just getting started there. So I hope you'll come check it out. All right. Thanks for letting me do that. Got to make a living, right?
Yeah.
So you touched on what you've learned from other sailors. How long have you been in the Bahamas?
2 months.
Yeah.
Right at 2 months right now.
Okay. And where were you before?
Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida. It was just wherever, up and down the coast.
Yeah.
So you were like just anchoring offshore?
No, we'd go into the ICW, anchor around there, or when we were in Virginia, we went into a marina there. So because we wanted to meet up with some people that had some other teenage kids, and we wanted them to get to know each other. So we've been buddy boating with them ever since. So.
Okay. And I know that you met Mike and Steph.
Yes.
Of Sailing Vessel.
Bela, yeah. So we met them in North Carolina at a marina that we had stayed. We left our boat. We hauled out there, and then we went into a marina after. And we were in, I think, for 2 or 3 months in the same marina with them in North Carolina. Probably my favorite marina ever is Whitaker Point in Oriental, North Carolina. They have the best showers.
Oh yeah, I understand. Those are important. Bathrooms are important. Clean bathrooms, good laundry. Okay, so connecting with other sailors in the Bahamas. I know that's Mike and Steph. That's how I learned about you, because I've interviewed them twice in the Bahamas. And tell me a little bit about the atmosphere there. So you're obviously not at Georgetown right now.
No, I don't think we're going to do Georgetown this year. There's a lot of boats down there, and we've also heard some stuff that I'm not too bothered about. That they've reduced the anchoring, and you've got to get mooring balls and things like that. And there's been some other issues with immigration coming on boats and checking, which they've got every right to do, but
right.
But it just seems there's a lot of stuff going on down there.
It seems like because they made all these changes with the mooring balls that everything's just kind of a bit stirred up down there right now.
Yeah. So plus, we've got appointments to do back in Florida in the next few weeks. So we're going to slowly start making our way north through the northern part of Exumas and then back to Florida.
And it's not off the boat, though, right?
No. Not off the boat, no. My daughter and I see an orthodontist in Florida. And so until we finish our treatment, we can't go too far from Florida.
Okay.
Hopefully within the next, year and a half, we'll be done. And we can go beyond the Bahamas. Go a little further.
Well, where are your kids now?
2 of them were on a buddy boat over there. As soon as we said we're doing a podcast, they're like, "We're going to Isla. See you later." And then one of them's down there doing art projects.
It's okay. She is there.
Yeah.
Okay. They didn't want to be on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
No, they don't like to be they'll be like, we put them on social media a little bit, but for the most part, they get very shy if there's a camera.
Oh, wow. That definitely shows that they have not been in the real world. That is perfect. Good job, guys. I would have to put that one in the plus column for effects on kids. Put them on a boat. I years ago, when I was researching sailing, when I was doing all my exploratory research, I watched a video of a family that raised their kids at anchor in St. John in the USVI. And they were just happy kids, jumping off the boat, swimming and fishing. And then they decided that they maybe should take him back to civilization. And then they show these pictures of him just laying in front of the TV, getting fat. And they're like, oh, no, we got to go back. And so they ended up taking him back to St. John. And they just decided that was a better life.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Don't take us wrong. Our kids very much are into technology. And if I let them, they will just lay up on technology all day long. But when we can find other teenagers for them to hang out with, they're into everything. Especially the two that went to the buddy boat just when we got on the podcast. Those two I don't even see them most of the day because they're out doing stuff with friends. So
what kind of stuff do they do?
Oh, everything. They make up games to play. Is it banana?
Oh, they play a lot of board games and like bananagrams and stuff.
Yeah.
But they also, depending on the weather, they will be on the beach or swimming or snorkeling. Typically, if they're snorkeling, one of us go with them. I get a little too nervous about stuff, but
Talon, our son, he's starting to get into spearfishing. So,
nice.
So if there's other kids that are interested in that, he's wanting to go along and see what he can do. And yeah, it's just all sorts of stuff like that. And then,
hey, this gives me hope for humanity. This sounds wonderful.
then one of our other buddy boats, they have a small inflatable catamaran type thing.
A happy cat.
And
is it a Tacky-Cat? Tacky-Cat?
Happy Cats.
Oh, a happy cat. Okay, I've got a Tacky-Cat dinghy. It's a catamaran.
Oh yeah, like we have some friends with one of those. Yeah,
but it's got a sail, and they sail about all over the place around the anchorage. So the kids like to do that as well. So that's been pretty cool. So
that's wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that. It's making me. I know there'll be other people that are happy to hear that too. Let's see. How do you balance exploration and relaxation?
Oh, that is two very different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I should go explore, but I really don't feel like it. I just want to chill.
Almost every single time that I'll say, oh yeah, we'll go do that tomorrow, go snorkeling or go for a hike up to wherever. And then when it's time, I'm like, I really don't want to, I'm tired. But if I make myself anyway, I always am glad that we did, or glad that I got off the boat and did that for the day.
Plus, you also have to bear in mind that there's some days that you're not going to get off the boat.
Yes. Due to the weather and sea state or whatever.
So you've almost, when the weather is good, you've got to grab it and do what you can then. So, yeah.
And is it because when it's rough, you want to stay with the boat and make sure it doesn't slip anchor or something?
Well, there's that, but also I find it very dangerous to try to go off the boat onto the dinghy to leave, or to get off the dinghy back onto the boat when it's very rough. I always feel like it's just
bouncing around.
Yeah, it's not worth the risk to me.
And then, even if you go ashore, you're just going to get absolutely drenched in that kind of situation. So,
which is not so bad if you're on your way back to the boat, but if you're on your way to shore and you get drenched with salt water, it makes for an uncomfortable day on shore. So we try to make sure the weather the sea state's decent.
Sure. So how about with you two? Do you have any advice for couples living on a boat?
When you're anchoring, he's really not yelling at you. He just needs you to hear. I always am saying, I can't hear you. But then when I can hear him, I'm like, why are you yelling at me? Really not yelling. It's 40 feet is a long ways, in front of me to be telling me what he needs me to do. So I think a lot of it is about understanding.
Well, do you get headphones for that?
Some, but I can never understand what he's saying in them. So I drive while he anchors, or while he pulls anchor, and then we have the 3 kids between me and him to make sure that whatever he said gets back to me.
My husband tends to yell too, and which is embarrassing in an anchorage, because the sound carries, and I'm driving, and this is when we're in cell service. We'll put on our headphones, and he'll still yell, and I go, I can hear you, no yelling, just tell me. And he'll go, oh, okay. Because it gets a little embarrassing in an anchorage, does it, if you're yelling at each other?
It used to, but then I watch all these other boats coming in, and I can hear them yelling back and forth to each other.
Oh, yeah.
They're all yelling. It's okay.
Yeah, I think you tend to be very self-conscious, and you've got to realize that everybody else, has bad days too. So, quite often
it's stressful. Coming into a marina, or not as much, but at Anchorage too, there's a lot of boats in there around you,
Yeah.
But
I'd much rather be putting down an anchor than going into a marina. To me, is the worst.
Is the worst?
Yeah, going in or coming out of marina is hard, because it's always a very tight space with all these boats lined up, and if you back into one of them,
right.
I'd rather be on anchor.
And who does the driving in the marina?
He does.
Okay.
Because I'm too worried they're going to hit somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always me that does that. Because it's my boat, and my husband, when he comes with me, he is the first mate. He's man enough to handle that, by the way. But most of the time I'm by myself. Isn't that interesting? So advice to families hoping to do what you're doing. What kind of prep work? What would you do differently?
I would go 10 years earlier.
We'd have gone earlier, yeah.
Because I feel like if your kids are, say, in elementary school, I would never want a toddler on a boat. I just would be too nervous. But if they're younger than teenagers, it's a easier transition for them, and it's easier for them to embrace what's going on. The first 6 months, our kids were just angry at us because they didn't want to do it. They would leave their friends and their video games and, the internet and all those things behind.
Yeah.
And then the other advice I would give would be get the biggest boat possible.
Yes, okay. If you're going to take kids, get the biggest boat you can possibly get.
I mean, for us, for family of 5, a 40-foot boat is just on the edge of usable.
Yeah, we definitely can go.
Yeah.
What size do you think, if you could do it again, what size would you get? In case Elon Musk is watching.
Probably a 55.
55, okay.
50 or a 55.
Yeah,
but,
50, 55.
We have friends that are on a 50-foot Gulf Star, and they've got their 4 kids on the boat. And I'm not saying they have a ton of room, but they have more than we do.
Yeah. Is storage a problem?
Always. Yes.
And so how do your kids handle that? How do you all handle with your clothes and everything?
We have these baskets that are actually made for cars. They're like stretchy. Anyway, we have those everywhere with clothes in them everywhere. And then, like the girls, this boat was built in France. So it doesn't, right. It didn't originally have black tanks. So when they brought it to the U.S., they had to put in black tanks. The girls' closet, they used half of their closet to put the black tank in. So they have very limited space.
And do you because when I'm on the boat, I'll end up wearing just a few things, especially if I'm by myself, nobody's around anyway, So did y'all end up just like getting rid of stuff?
Yes. We gave away pretty much everything in our house. Each of us had one bag that we got to bring. And if you couldn't fit in
there.
How
big's the bag?
It was a military flight bag. So a pretty good sized bag. It's pretty big. But that had to be your clothes, your toys, your books, like everything that you brought had to be in that one bag.
Wow.
And to be honest, we didn't purge enough. We should have purged more.
Well, so what was it like living on it when 2 of them were mad at you for 6 months? What was that like?
All 3 of them were upset with us. It was a lot of, I understand that you're upset, but you got 2 choices here. You can stay here and be miserable while your friends go on and keep living their life, or you can just embrace this suck and let's go for it. Let's just do what we're doing. And so they eventually, as long as we found things for them to do, they eventually go for it. And even now we talk about would they like to go back to public school, and they would not. They don't want to go back to school.
I bet. Oh my gosh. And they're going to talk about this for the rest of their lives.
Well, that was something else that I wanted, because when you're submitting a resume, there's always a personal section in the bottom. And from my experience of being in the workforce and having to hire people, everybody's got degrees, everybody's got experience, everybody's got qualifications. But it's the personal stuff that they do that makes them stand out. And I just think that, when they start applying for jobs, they can put, hey, we've sailed over 6,000 nautical miles, or, we've sailed to the Bahamas and back. We've done this, we've done that. And that's going to make an impression on any future employer. So, yeah.
That's a very good point.
It's all good. So.
What about the other 4? Have they come and visited you?
They're adults with their own lives.
Some of them are children, and
so
some of them are what?
Some of them have children. So
okay.
So Stephen has 2 sons that live in England, and they haven't been to visit since COVID happened, because when COVID happened, their flights got canceled, and then right after that, we bought the boat, and it's just been chaos. And they both have jobs now, and they're adults, so they can't just always come like they used to. But and then I have 2 girls from a previous marriage too, and so they are both married with their own kids and their own jobs. So we go home occasionally, and I'll watch them.
We've had 2 of the grandkids on, and they've been absolutely brilliant. In fact, they're texting us right now.
They've been texting.
Hey, when are we coming? When are we coming?
Yeah, so. The 2 oldest grandkids, we brought them out for a couple of weeks, and now I'm getting texts saying, "Hey, school's going to be out soon."
That is awesome. And where are they?
Oklahoma.
So they're in Oklahoma.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Every time we've gone home for a visit, I just watch my daughter just going to work and doing the laundry and running the kids to their sports, and I just think, how did we do that for 40 years? Like, it's a lot. It's a lot, and I don't know that I'd ever want to do it again.
So you're in for the long haul.
Yes.
Although there's times that we definitely say, that's it, we're selling the boat.
Yeah.
We go.
Well, when something breaks, right? That's good.
Nearly always when something breaks.
But we have an agreement. It was the same agreement we had when we started fostering. We agreed that if one of us wanted to stop fostering and the other one said, "Hey, I'm not ready to stop yet," that we wouldn't stop. And so I was ready a lot of times, and he was like, "Well, I think we should keep fostering a little bit longer." So for a long time, we went back and forth about, should we close our home to fostering? So we kind of made the same agreement with the boat. Like, if one of us says, "I'm done with the boat," and the other one says, "I'm not, though. Like, I still want to be here," then we'll figure it out and we'll stay until both of us are on the same page about it.
Plus, we've also...
So how long does that last? When one of you is like, not
very long.
He told me just a couple days ago. He told me a couple of days ago, "I don't even know if I want to live on this boat anymore." And I said, when we get back to the U.S., we're off the boat. And if we're not off the boat within 24 hours of being back in the U.S., don't ever say it to me again.
Yeah, we're not going to do that podcast. I'm off the boat. I usually on my last trip, I was on the boat for 6 months, and every time I had a bunch of things that went wrong. Y'all froze up. Are you still with me? Are you still with me?
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like you're frozen up. There you are. And every time I was like, "Not another thing. That's it. I'm selling the boat." And I guess you could probably fix stuff, right, Stephen?
So I'm a geek. I do computer consultancy, right? So anything software, computers, I'm 100% down with. When it comes to things like water makers and diesel engines, that's where
the head.
And that's where my company own is really stretched, and
You hire people.
No, he figures it out.
Eventually,
Oh.
I have to fix it 10 times, but eventually I figure it out.
The first year and a half that we were on the boat, we planned for both of us to not be working and just have that time to figure out how to live on the boat. So we had kind of planned for all that. And that also meant that we didn't have the funds. If it broke, it was up to us to fix it. And so that's just
Right.
We've done it time.
So, I mean, we had to put all new instruments in on this boat. We put a new inverter.
Before you left.
Yeah, we put a solar arch on, put a water maker and an air conditioner in. So there was a lot to do to this boat just so that it would be comfortable for us. So
yes,
well,
it was a
good.
small boat, but it didn't have like a setup to live aboard for long term. It was more for a vacation in the Bahamas, and that was back to land.
Yeah, the only thing I don't have is the water maker, but it's when I need it, I'm gonna make that investment. Do you have any recommendations on a water maker? Do you have a little one or a big one?
So we have a particular brand at the moment that everybody on YouTube talks about, and I'm not too happy with it at the moment.
Let's hear it.
So there's.
Well, he won't say it, but I'll say it. We have a Spectra water maker, and
Spectra. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that we really knew what we were doing, taking care of it, but we have gone through a bunch of 2 different technicians, a bunch of phone calls and emails and parts, and we've spent $1,700 so far, and the water maker is still not working.
Oh,
I mean, I feel like I know it's it, and if it comes out to be that, I think it just needs a new membrane. But if it just needs a new membrane, I'm going to be so mad that we bought all the other stuff. But
there's a few other things, like the insides of it are all plastic. So if you get a tiny little bit of sand, or say some of the metal fittings have corroded and that passes through it, that can cause a lot of damage to the insides. So it never builds up the pressure properly. So, but we like the idea of a 12-volt one because it means we can just run solar all day, and we're filling up the water tank.
Yeah.
I mean that seems like it would be the only option. I mean, if you're going to be at anchor a lot.
Well, a lot of people get like a small Honda generator and then run a 110 version off that. So,
but we've been pretty consistent about trying to make sure everything is 12 volts.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, and how much? Obviously, you would have to have a big one because you've got 5 people. So, how
this
big
one's supposed to make 8 gallons an hour. Right now, it's making about 4 because it's not working properly.
Less, yeah. So we have, so we can hold 80 gallons of fresh water, which for a family of 5
is not a lot.
And we're probably making water every 3 days.
Oh, okay.
If I have my way, we'll make water every day.
Yeah. Well, so what brand would you recommend if you had to do it over? People are listening, so.
So we've heard a lot of good stuff about Cruise RO, so I'm looking at that at the moment. It's a very similar design, but they've looked at where the problems are and they've redesigned those issues. So it's a little bit more expensive, but I think in the long term it would be a worthwhile investment.
What kind of range are we talking?
You're looking around the 6,000 to 7,000 mark for a 12
and that
volt.
that would give you more water per hour, because I've heard higher numbers.
Some people make like 40 gallons an hour.
So
I would love to do that.
So all of the AC powered ones, like the 110 ones, they make about 30 gallons an hour, but then they're running on AC, and you've got to have the battery and the inverter or a generator to keep up with that.
Right.
So, I mean, one of the things that we've learned over the 3 years is there's always a compromise to something. There's a compromise to what boat you get. there's a compromise to, what sails you have, what water maker, what solar panels you've got. There's always a compromise. And it's trying to figure out what works best for you.
Right. Okay. We've got several people watching. So if anybody watching wants to ask a question, please feel free. It only works with Facebook and YouTube, unfortunately. We are live on several platforms, by the way, including Instagram, X, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, 2 Facebooks, two YouTubes, 2 X's, actually. So it might be some of your friends watching. So if you guys want to, say something, please feel free.
Well, Jim and Lisa, they're our oldest sailing couple. They've been amazing to support us. So they've always, encouraged us and kept us going. So I'm sure that they're watching.
Are they in the Bahamas?
They're in Oklahoma.
They're in Oklahoma. They're still working on, becoming full-time cruisers. So
and we
breaking free.
Yes.
It's Lisa and who?
Jim.
Jim and Lisa. Shout out to Jim and Lisa. Please come. I'd like to interview them to hear what they're doing to prepare for their sailing life.
I could probably hit that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I like to talk to people at all different stages. I've talked to circumnavigators. I've talked to you're the first people with 3 kids on board, and that's very interesting. But I'd like to also talk to some people that are just getting started. They probably are sailors, right?
Yes. So we met them when we took our ASA 101 class.
Okay.
Oklahoma, and then we ended up buying a boat at that same marina, and they were coming to. They had like a sailing club. And so we joined that, and Lisa and Jim had joined that, and before you knew it, we found them a boat to buy in the marina, and so we were like out, doing the marina together, and then now we've moved aboard, and so they're still like trying to get
landlocked
coming back. So
yeah, so they're
cool.
They just weren't ready to like sell everything yet and leave. So hopefully soon they'll be ready.
Well, that'll be fun to talk to them. Whenever maybe you can hook us up.
Yeah, I can do that.
Jim sailed from Oriental to Florida with us.
Yes, we had him come on the boat and just do 8 days, I think.
Yes.
We stopped a couple of times just to sleep and get fuel, and kept going.
How did he do?
He did good, I think.
Considering he'd never been on the ICW or out in the ocean before, he did pretty good. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, you got to start somewhere. I mean, that's what I took ASA 101, 103, 104, and then I let a bunch of time go by and I didn't remember anything. So I went back, took a refresher, and then I got a boat, and then I got another boat. 5 years later, I got another boat. And the one you see behind me here is my Island Packet 320, in case you didn't know.
So have all your boats been in Island Packet?
Everybody that that I've owned, yeah. Well, my first boat was a Catalina 25. And I had it for about 10 months, and that was just like great learning boat, right? Mm-hmm. And but I knew I needed something a little more substantial. It's a coastal cruiser, so if I went out in the bay and a power boat went by, I was like, boom. And I took it all the way from Orange Beach to Fort Walton, which is probably about 9 hours. And there was no autopilot; it was a tiller, and I couldn't step away in the ICW. The boat would go off somewhere. And so I was like, I've got to get something more substantial. I got an Island Packet 27, which was, it was a blue water boat. I mean, full keel, autopilot, it had solar panels, it had a wind generator, it was made for cruising. And I had that boat for 5 years, and I went from Orange Beach to South Florida, even the Bahamas, every year for 5 years. And then we had a hurricane, and the insurance company wanted to total the boat, and I finally did because I could tell they were not going to reinsure it if they paid me on it. So I was crying and everything. I was carrying on. I was like,
I'd be crying too. Yeah.
I spent 5 years on that boat. I mean, I still have a house, but you know, and I still have to work, but. And then, so I got another boat, an Island Packet 320. And someone said, just take the money and buy a bigger boat, you know. So I got a 320. So that's, you know, 5 feet longer. It's wider, it's heavier, and it's still an Island Packet. It's like a big sister. It's just like a bigger version of what I had. And so it was a very easy transition, you know, driving it and everything. And most of what I do is solo. My husband's kind of into it, but not a lot, you know. So, and we've just worked that out, you know. He just comes when he can. But I'm very independent, and I grew up as a latchkey child, so I was Gen X.
Yeah.
I do well on my own, but when he's there, you know, that's fun too. So, anybody out there watching, please like and subscribe and share this video. I'd really appreciate it. But back to you. What else do you want to tell the people that y'all are perfectly framed right now, by the way. Thank you. And you got the darkness in the background. It works out good. What else do you want people to know?
The community is brilliant. There's nothing like it. I mean, we've had friends that have sold their boat, gone back to land, and they've all regretted it.
Oh,
and
wow.
they've said, it's not the same because the communities that they're in just do not understand the same thing, you know. So it blows my mind how many people are doing this as well. I mean, in this anchorage alone, there's over 100 boats right now, you know, and that's just one small part of the Bahamas.
Yeah.
There's about 500 down in Georgetown right now. You know, there's hundreds of little anchorages all up and down that have got more than a few boats in them. So it just blows my mind how many people are actually cruising around and going up and down. And you know, apps like No Foreign Land are absolutely valuable, especially if
what's that?
So there's a mobile app called No Foreign Land, and you can register your boat on it. And basically, you see every other boat that's around you.
If they're registered on the app.
Moving up and down. You can talk to people, find out what anchorages are like.
You can go on the app and like go to the anchorage that you're going to head to or where you're currently at and zoom in, and you can see where there's a water source, where there's fuel, where all the stores are, because the people using the app can add, you know, if you found a laundromat that wasn't on there, you can add it. Or you found a great place to go snorkeling, you can add that on. So it's been kind of built by the users. I'm not sure who the people are that created it, but they were
Did you say No Foreign Land app? No
Foreign Land.
This is good info that we like to give here on the Salty Podcast. No Foreign Land app. Okay. And it's also got not just, I mean, in the United States, outside the United States, everywhere.
Wide, yeah.
Yes.
And then people also use it as a way of tracking their boat as well, so that you can stick you can tie your Garmin InReach or to it, and it actually track where your boat's going.
So we don't do that. That's too complicated for me. I just go in the app and say, move my boat.
I'm here right this second. And if you don't want people to know where you are all the time, you wouldn't put the InReach in there.
You could turn it off, but a lot of families like us use it to find other kid boats. So if you're in an anchorage with another kid boat, you can use it. Say, hey, we've got 3 teenagers on board. You fancy meeting up on a dock or something?
Earlier today, somebody messaged Stephen on No Foreign Land and said, hey, we're in the same anchorage as you. We've got these kids. This is their age. We're going to go go for a walk. There's like a water spout thing. And we were going to do it. We're going to meet them at 2:30, but then it got so rolly that it wasn't really safe to get off the boat. So we didn't get to. But that kind of stuff happens a lot. I think the last time here, there was a family that came and met up.
Yeah.
But,
I can't even imagine that happening on land.
No.
Nobody would want to get together with some family they didn't know. I mean, that is just amazing.
It does feel a bit weird at times because it's like almost like you're stalking.
It's like going back 50 years, though. I mean, it's a good thing, is what I'm saying.
That would
people are attached to their phones and their own little entertainment, you know.
Yes, and I think because we're in this situation, and our kids want to hang out with other kids, and there's other families whose kids are wanting to hang out with other kids.
Amazing to me.
Willing to like reach out to a random stranger and say, "Hey, you want to hang out?"
I know you just don't see that happen anymore. I mean, people don't even know their neighbors.
Yeah, I think one of the other benefits about having the kids on the boat is that they get very socially adjusted to everybody because they're making friends constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them
of all cultures, of all languages.
And it's they have to learn how to be a little more outgoing because like sometimes it's the parents that have to be outgoing for the kids, but there's been times we were on our friend's dinghy and his daughter was on there with us and she was like, "Oh, that looks like a kid boat," and he just motored right there and said, "Hey, do you have kids on this boat?" And they did. We ended up being with them for a couple of days, just talking with them and stuff. Sometimes you just have to do to meet people.
So yeah, definitely would recommend that. It's probably the best thing, and it's free. You can donate towards it, but the couple that are creating it are cruisers, and they're writing it all themselves. And it's just absolutely brilliant. Couldn't recommend it more.
Yeah, you can every place you go, you can add the different things that you find, or if somebody's already added it, you can leave a review or photos. Like it's all the users are putting in the information, so it's pretty up to date too. Like it's stuff that they're finding right now.
Right. So with your 16-year-old, is there like an end date for him to get off the boat, or is he just going to continue, or does that discussed? Or
we talk about it all the time, and all three kids say, well, we have a 16-year-old and one that's going to be 16 in a couple weeks. They both say, "Oh, yeah, as soon as I'm 18, I'm leaving the boat," and they might. The younger one that's 14 says, "No, I'm never leaving. It's free rent." She's already thinking about the fact that she wants free rent if she stays on the boat. But
I just need to get another boat to kind of travel with you.
But the 16-year-old, I've also heard him say things like, "Well, when I get my own boat, this is the kind of." And so I'm like, maybe he's not in a hurry to get off the boat because he has talked about, having his own boat.
I mean, we got one that definitely wants to get off, but she wants to go to university. She does animation. She's done illustrations for people and stuff. So
she's the one doing the art project.
Yes. So there's another couple on a boat called, I think, what's her Mingus. Their boat name is Mingus, but they have a charity called Sailing for Smiles, and they go all through the Bahamas. And she is a dental hygienist, so they go to all the schools that they can, mostly in the Abacos, I think. And they do like a presentation, read them these stories, teach them how to clean their teeth, give them like a packet with toothpaste and stuff in it, toothbrushes. Anyway, so she's written 2 books that she uses for that when she goes into these schools to teach them. And then our daughter, Katie, illustrated both of the books for her.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's an opportunity she'd have never had if we weren't on the boat. She'd have never met them. But very motivated. She wants to do illustration at some point.
Well, and that is something she can do from a boat. I mean, you can do a lot of things from the boat nowadays.
Yeah. I remind her often that she can travel the world with us and still do illustration.
So when you're done with your orthodontist visits, what's the plan?
We'll come back to the Bahamas that season, and then we'll keep going.
We'll head down to Grenada, and then one of the longest term goals that we've got, we'd like to actually sail the boat back to the Mediterranean because it was built in France and actually came over. It was sailed single-handedly over through the Atlantic to the Bahamas. So we'd like to go back there and explore all of Europe. And
you're not going through the Red Sea, right?
No. So we'll probably go as far as Cyprus, or Turkey and Greece. So
then come back around and then go around the tip of Africa.
When we first started, we were all like, yeah, we'll sail around the world and we'll do all of that. But I also think at the same time, we're kind of like, that's a lot of work and a lot of time.
Yeah.
We
Going
really
across
want
the
to do
Atlantic is a
that.
lot of work.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, I love the sailing part. To me, getting there is in a lot of cases is the most fun. But the idea of being on a boat for 3 to 4 weeks and not seeing anything is kind of like, yeah, do I really want to do that? When you start getting into the Pacific, if you're being really honest about it, that's what you're doing. You're not going to see land 3 or 4 weeks. You know, it's a lot of traveling. You know, I also find a lot of these YouTube channels, they're absolutely brilliant. They're influencers, and what they do is great. But I also don't think it's very realistic about what's happening and what's going on.
Like the 3 or 4 weeks at sea.
Yes,
You think it's more miserable than what they say?
probably, yeah. So
Maybe.
So I kind of think a lot of that is, you know, kind of up in the air. And so, well, I mean, you could spend 10, 15 years in the Caribbean quite easily. You know, you could spend months at each different anchorage and see something different. I mean, certainly from you know, snorkeling and diving point of view, I mean, there's just so many places to see and, you know, different things to look at. I don't think you could really do it all justice unless you spent weeks, if not months, at each place.
Well, that's
Yeah.
more my speed. You know, when I'm able to, the reason I'm doing the podcast is because I'm at home, and this is I get to live vicariously through all of y'all out there right now. And I thought, what's the next best thing? Talking to people out in the Caribbean, you know? So I think when I get to be cut loose, I want to spend it in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
There's just plenty to see there, you know, and I want to stay in this hemisphere. It just seems safer.
I mean, we spent the first 2 years going to the Abacos, which we absolutely love.
I love the
Yeah.
Abacos.
People are absolutely amazing there. And then this year we've gone down through Eleuthera and we've done, you know, some of the exhumas. But to be honest, there's a lot of places in Eleuthera that we skipped, you know, and that's going to be another
Based
trip.
on weather windows, and you know, we have one day that we can get this far with this wind, and so sometimes we didn't stop because we knew we needed to get to.
And it's the same with being in the exhumas. We've skipped so many different anchorages, you know, and
Yes.
every one of them's different. Every one of them has something else to offer, you know. So yeah, I mean, you really could spend years and years.
In the Bahamas.
Oh, well, there's 700 islands in the Bahamas. I mean, and you guys are all set up to visit all of them.
Yes.
Trying to be anyway.
Yep.
So so I'd like to catch up with you again in the future and get an update. So you're going to go back to Florida. You got to do the orthodontist thing. And then when are you heading south again?
It's kind of up in the air right now because we have 2 buddy boats. One of them has gone on to Georgetown, and
Wait, you kind of broke up there. You broke up there. One of them's going to Georgetown and one's going where?
When it had left for Georgetown a couple of days ago, and the other one's still with us, and they're going to cross back to the U.S. with us.
Okay.
They are the one that's crossing with us is going to Texas, and then our friends that are in Georgetown are going to stay in the Bahamas for a few months. When we get done with all the stuff we have to do, which will be the end of April, we're going to look and say, where are our 2 buddy boats? And if the boat that's going to Texas is too far for us to catch up, then we may hop back over to the Abacos and go with our other buddy boats and spend a month there. Or if we don't do either one of those 2 things, our grandkids are coming and we may take them to the Keys because they have never been to the Keys.
Oh, okay. So where would you leave out of?
Fort Pierce, probably.
Yeah, we really like Fort Pierce.
Okay.
And
yeah, that's nice.
St. Augustine is really good as well. Cape Canaveral is not too bad. we've been to West Palm, but we haven't stayed very long there. But we would like to go back there. But I would say because of Orlando Airport, it is probably the cheapest airport anywhere in the US. So flying.
Right.
I don't know about
in
the
and
whole
out.
US, but they are a lot less expensive than some of the other airports.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and it's just easy. I mean, we've got a UPS box there, so we get all of our mail sent there, and it's just easy to pick up there, and you're pretty well protected from everything as well.
If we do go into the Keys, we'll definitely go to Josh Tortugas. We've been there before and we love it there.
Yeah.
It's a nice
Yes.
place to go
And
to.
then we like Marathon. I think we'll probably end up spending most of the summer there actually, because we've got a number of projects that we want to do.
In the Anchorage there, or grab a mooring ball, or
We're probably going to end up in a marina for two reasons.
where?
One,
I've got a
and
lot of experience there.
the next one, we're looking at doing like a membership at Safe Harbor, because then if you travel on and you have a membership,
Right.
you can use the other Safe Harbor marinas too. But partly because it's going to be summertime and nobody wants to be in the summertime without air conditioning, so that we could use air conditioning. If we go into a marina, we'll have air conditioning. And the other thing is we want to do a bunch of sewing projects on the boat, and in Marathon at the city marina, which is mooring balls, is what you have to go on. They have like a whole huge room that you can do, like take your sewing machine in there and work projects. And you sewing on the boat so hard. And I'm
Yeah.
not a great seamstress, so I need like an easy environment to make the hard stuff a little bit easier. So I think Marathon is where we're thinking we'll stay for most of the summer.
Because we want to enclose
Okay.
the cockpit so it stays dry
Yes.
during bad weather, and it becomes more friendly.
I'm jealous. I don't have a full enclosure.
Well,
I do have air conditioning.
And in the past, we've gone north for the summer and then came back in the fall to come south. And we always leave too late and it's freezing. Just the
Oh yeah.
whole
No
way down
fun.
there. Buddy
Yeah.
Boat here, who made their own enclosure, is like,
Oh,
we had to take our jackets off. And I'm like, hush.
that's what I've
'Cause I'm-
heard.
I'm in the cockpit with my sweatpants and some leggings under
Yeah.
that. And then I was so cold this last time. I went down and got my robe, put that on top of my clothes, and was still out here just shaking. It was terrible. And so we want to close
I've
the.
been there. So did you make your own?
We haven't. That's what we want to do when we go to Marathon. Just make
Oh,
our.
okay. Do you have pictures of your friend that made their own? I mean, 'cause it costs a fortune to have those window panes cut out and everything. So,
awesome.
and I've got it for like the front part, and just a little bit of the side, but I'd like to do something because when I cross the Gulf and it doesn't even have to be that cold for it to be freezing on the Gulf of Mexico at night.
Yeah.
So they've
So-
built those over a year or two. So and they've just added panels as
Yes.
they were going.
So I'm pretty sure they made the front ones, and then later they added a little more, and then a little more until they just kept adding panels until they had the whole thing around.
So they put the zippers on and everything, huh?
I don't know if I can do all those zippers. I'm gonna have to do some Velcro. But she
Velcro,
definitely.
yeah. Well, I have
I just-
both. He's got the Velcro and the zippers.
Well, you make
I would be
dinghy
interested in. I need to start getting budget with things, because I get that credit card out and pay some other people to fix the engine and do this and do that.
Yes.
and then
Uh,
you made some dinghy chaps which have
We
been
have-
absolutely brilliant.
We have
as
dinghy
well.
chaps that I made that they need to be. I need to make new ones because they've got lots of tears from all the stuff that would be tearing up the dinghy is tearing up the chaps. But that was Stephanie Mike that you interviewed. She
Yeah.
when we met her, she's a seamstress, and so
Right.
she just said, "Let me show you how to make the pattern." And then once we made the pattern, she'd come up and check on me every now and then and be like, "Okay, we'll do this or do that." Until I got the whole thing made.
And those are the chaps? Because I would
The
like to get.
dinghy
Yeah, I would
chaps.
like that for my dinghy too, because I just don't want it sitting in the sun baking.
Well, and they're too expensive too. I mean,
Yes.
just
No kidding.
Well, the ones
So-
we have now look like, a middle school home ec project, but they work. I made them. Like, I kind of know what to do now. I'm hoping the next ones will be a little nicer. And then
I
on
need to
top
come hang out with y'all and learn how to make stuff.
I know like what places get hit or rubbed the most, so I know where to reinforce better this time. So I think the next ones will be better. But again, we need some.
Well, if I'm able to break away this year, I'm thinking I might not be able to go this year south, but if I do, I will see you in Marathon.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
you like Marathon?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I like to go down to I like the whole west coast of Florida, the coast of Florida, the Gulf Coast, all the way down to the Keys. Yeah. And then I usually go down into Newfoundland and Key West and Bahia Honda, all those places. And even go up in the
Honda, so.
Yes,
in
we
the
love
ever
Bahia
Yeah.
Honda. Love that place. Yeah.
that is a nice budget place to stay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So maybe I'll see y'all down there. Last
Wait.
thing I did want to ask you to include in this video, because I know people will want to know, is about the school thing. How does someone go about getting their kids enrolled in these online schools?
So the first year, we used, it's called Monarch now. It's called Switched On Schoolhouse.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's called Monarch now. And we really liked that program. But it was
I didn't quite understand what you were saying. It was called, what's it called now?
It's
Monarch.
called Monarch, and it's
Monarch. Okay.
It's you do have to have internet. There's teachers involved. They lay it all out for you. Most of the stuff you submit it through the software, and you can see everything they did, everything they touched or clicked, and it's very laid out and detailed. We couldn't really afford to do that this year, and so we used Easy Peasy, which is 100% free, but it doesn't give you that attendance part, and you can't go back and like take their assignments and say, no, you messed this up, and reassign it to them. You can't do that kind of stuff. And so I think we've decided we're going to go back to Monarch next year.
Okay, so you kind of broke up when you were saying that it's where the parents can go in and check the work. You were kind of breaking up during that point.
That's in Monarch.
Monarch.
You cannot do that so much in Easy Peasy. So with the Easy Peasy stuff, you can find all the assignments there, and the kids have to do them, and then they have to save them and give them to you. Where on Monarch, it saves everything for you. It's very much more user friendly for the parents. So and you can go in and take out any assignments you don't want them to do, or add in your own assignments. It's just so user friendly. Yeah, I think Monarch's
okay.
Yeah, you've got to also look at what state you're kind of ready. You're coming out
satisfying
of.
their
every state.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Like the state of Florida, they require that your kids do standardized testing every couple of years.
Okay.
Oklahoma doesn't.
Okay.
Yes.
So you've got to really figure out what state you're going to stay registered to be able to do.
So you just you go with one state and you kind of stay with that.
Yeah.
Well, because we came out of Oklahoma, and we still pay taxes to Oklahoma, so that's where we homeschool based off Oklahoma rules.
I see. Well, that sounds.
We don't stay anywhere long enough to be a resident of any state.
Right. Okay. All right. And is there anything else that people might need to know about that situation?
I don't know. I think
How do the kids like it?
They didn't like it at first, but it's funny because we were talking to the 15-year-old just the other day, and she said she wouldn't want to go back to doing traditional school because it
seems like a waste of time. I bet to her to be sitting there all day and.
Yes, or one of the reasons they like it is if they get up in the morning and they really focus and do what they're supposed to do, they can be done by lunchtime, and then the rest of the day we could be doing hands-on stuff. We could be
nice.
And it also provides you a lot of flexibility in the fact that you could be somewhere really nice and and there's some museum to go and see, so you can say, hey, stay up. You're not doing that, but we're going to go and have a look at this museum, and I want you to write me an essay about what you've seen in the museum. When we first went through Charleston, we went to all of the museums there.
Sure.
And all of our kids were like, whoa, because it suddenly came alive to them. It was very different to, just reading it out of a book. And
so that gives that the system gives you credit for things like that.
Yes.
And then you can also add in
awesome.
stuff like life skills. I mean, sailing a boat is a life skill. There's all sorts of other benefits that you get from it. Learning about marine life is a life.
We need to take them down to the Mayan ruins and stuff like that, and you keep on going.
Yes.
And if you go to Greece, oh my gosh, there's so much there. Oh, that makes me very happy. I have hope for all the children that are. I knew it was a great experience. I don't have any kids, but I was like, oh, if I ever do, I would rather raise them like that. Now it's too late, but but
I would say there's probably a few hundred cruisers families that are actually doing it all the time.
Yeah,
they're full-time. So
that makes me very happy to hear.
Yay
to y'all! Shout out to y'all for doing this.
I was extremely nervous about homeschooling because I felt like I wasn't the greatest student in school. Like I graduated because I did the bare minimum. And so I was concerned about that. But especially if you're using the software that helps you, it's not that difficult. A lot of it
as a parent. Are you talking about as a parent?
Yeah, as a parent.
Okay.
It's not as hard as I thought it would be. And because a lot of it falls on the kids. They have to be responsible for doing their homework and turning it in. So I don't know.
Well, do you think that you would have been more interested in school if you were doing it this way? If you were
probably, yeah. I would have been more interested in knowing, especially history, if I was going to different places and seeing a place. Then I want to know, well, how did this get here? How did that happen? But to read,
did you learn all about the pirates and everything around Nassau?
Oh no, we haven't been to Nassau yet.
Oh my gosh, it was a total pirate kingdom there. It was just infested with pirates. So many good stories about it. I mean, I've read so much about it, but all right. Well, I guess we've been on here for over an hour. We've been over an hour and 18 minutes. I sure do appreciate it. Do you mind if I catch up with you again on down the road?
Absolutely.
Will you come back on?
Definitely.
People will have questions. People will have lots of questions. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And so what we say here on Salty Abandon is Salty Abandon out.